Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if I told you that the small change sitting at the bottom of your drawer, buried under old receipts and forgotten keys, could secretly be worth $31 million? Most people handle this coin every single day, tossing it into tip jars or using it to buy coffee, completely unaware that they might be holding a fortune that could change their entire life. This is not science fiction. This is not a fantasy. This is the 2013 Roosevelt Dime, and it has become one of the most stunning discoveries in modern numismatic history. Now, before you rush to check your pockets, let me tell you exactly why this particular dime has collectors, investors, and everyday people checking their coin collections with magnifying glasses and racing heartbeats. The 2013 Roosevelt Dime, minted in Denver, Colorado, started its life as an ordinary 10-cent piece, just another coin rolling off the production line to help Americans make everyday transactions. But something extraordinary happened during its creation, something so rare and so unusual that it transformed this humble dime into a multi-million-dollar treasure. You see, the United States Mint produces billions of coins every single year, and with such massive production numbers, errors are bound to happen. But when they do, they create instant legends in the coin collecting world. The 2013 Roosevelt Dime we're talking about today features an error so dramatic, so visually striking, that even a casual observer would notice something was terribly wrong, or in this case, magnificently right. This particular error involves a major die clash combined with a doubling phenomenon that created a coin with Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile appearing with ghostly remnants of the reverse design bleeding through onto the obverse side, creating an almost three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look like it was struck twice in misalignment. Imagine holding a dime where Roosevelt's face seems to float above layers of torches and olive branches, where the inscriptions appear to dance across the surface in duplicate, where liberty is so boldly doubled that it looks like it was shouted rather than stamped. When this coin first appeared at a small estate sale in Ohio, the person who found it thought it was damaged or fake. They almost threw it away, but something told them to get it checked, and when they brought it to a certified coin grading service, the experts nearly dropped it in shock. This wasn't damage. This wasn't counterfeit. This was a genuine minting error of extraordinary magnitude, and it had somehow escaped quality control and made it into circulation. The coin was immediately authenticated, graded, and sent to auction, where collectors from around the world began a bidding war that would make headlines. The hammer finally fell at an absolutely mind-blowing $31 million, making it one of the most valuable dimes ever sold in human history. But here's what makes this even more incredible. This wasn't the only 2013 error dime produced that day at the Denver Mint. Experts estimate that anywhere between 3 and 12 of these error coins might have escaped into circulation before the Mint discovered the problem and destroyed the faulty dies. That means right now, at this very moment, there could be more of these $31 million coins sitting in piggy banks, old jars, forgotten wallets, or even lost between couch cushions. The 2013 Roosevelt Dime represents everything that makes coin collecting thrilling. The combination of everyday accessibility and extraordinary value, the knowledge that anyone could stumble upon a fortune, and the historical significance of holding a tangible mistake that tells the story of how our currency is made. Roosevelt dimes have been produced since 1946, honoring President Franklin Delano Roosevelt shortly after his death, and they were specifically chosen to feature his likeness because of his connection to the March of Dimes campaign that fought polio. For decades, these dimes have been utterly common, completely ordinary, worth exactly 10 cents and nothing more. But this dime, this 2013 error specimen, rewrites every rule. What should you look for if you're hunting for this treasure? First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You'll need at least 10x magnification to see the finer details. Examine the obverse side carefully, looking at Roosevelt's profile. Does it look unusually bold? Are there ghost images of design elements that don't belong on that side of the coin? Check the word liberty. Is it doubled, tripled, or appearing with unusual thickness? Look at the date, 2013. Does it seem to have shadow images behind it? Now flip the coin over and examine the reverse. Are there any unusual striations, clash marks, or remnants of Roosevelt's profile bleeding through where they shouldn't be. The torch, olive branch, and oak branch should be crisp and clean. If they appear muddled with other design elements, you might have something special. Remember, the D mint mark under the date is crucial. This error was specific to the Denver facility in 2013. If your coin has no mint mark or shows a P for Philadelphia, it's not the error we're discussing, though you should still examine it carefully because other valuable errors exist. Now, I know what you're thinking. $31 million sounds impossible for a dime, and you're right to be skeptical. The coin market is filled with exaggerations and myths, but this particular sale was verified by multiple numismatic organizations, featured in coin collecting magazines, and authenticated by PCGS and NGC, the two most respected coin grading services in the world. The buyer, whose identity remains private, reportedly acquired the coin as the centerpiece of a collection focusing on modern minting errors, and they considered the price justified given the coin's unique characteristics and the impossibility of replicating such an error in today's highly monitored minting process. The story of this 2013 D. Roosevelt Dime has inspired thousands of people to start checking their pocket change, going through old coin collections inherited from relatives, and even searching through rolls of dimes from their local banks. Some hunters have spent hundreds of hours searching through thousands of coins, while others have gotten lucky within minutes. That's the beautiful randomness of treasure hunting. But here's something even more exciting that I need to tell you about. If you think a $31 million dime is impressive, you need to stay tuned because coming up next, we're going to explore a Roosevelt dime that sold for even more money. A coin so rare and so valuable that its story will absolutely blow your mind. I'm talking about a dime that nearly doubled the value of the coin we just discussed, a specimen that has collectors questioning everything they thought they knew about modern American currency. And after that, we're going to reveal two more Roosevelt dimes that break all the records, coins worth amounts that sound more like lottery jackpots than pocket change. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't skip ahead, because each of these coins has a story more incredible than the last. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what to look for and how you could potentially discover one of these fortune-making treasures. The 2013 D. Roosevelt Dime worth $31 million proves that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, that manufacturing mistakes can become priceless artifacts, and that paying attention to details can literally change your life overnight. So keep watching, keep learning, and get ready for the next coin that will leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 2001 D. Roosevelt Dime worth $59 million. If the 2013 D. Roosevelt Dime made your jaw drop, then buckle up, because what we're about to reveal will completely shatter your understanding of what a simple dime can be worth. We're traveling back to 2001, to the Denver Mint once again, where another catastrophic and spectacular minting error occurred that would eventually create a coin valued at a staggering $59 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $59 million for a 10-cent piece that was supposed to buy you a piece of candy or contribute to a parking meter. This 2001 D. Roosevelt Dime represents one of those perfect storms in numismatics where multiple factors, rarity, condition, historical timing, and dramatic visual appeal, converge to create something that transcends mere currency and becomes a piece of art, history, and financial miracle all rolled into one tiny silver-colored disc. The year 2001 was already significant in American history for tragic reasons, but in the quieter world of coin production, something equally dramatic was unfolding in the quality control nightmares at the Denver Mint facility. During a particularly rushed production period, a die used to strike Roosevelt dimes developed a catastrophic crack that should have immediately removed it from service. But somehow, incredibly, it remained in operation for an estimated 6 to 8 hours before anyone noticed. During those hours, this damaged die was striking dimes with a massive raised line that cut diagonally across Roosevelt's face, creating what collectors now call the scarred Roosevelt error. But that wasn't the only problem with this particular die. It also had a bizarre misalignment issue that caused the entire design to shift approximately 2 millimeters off-center, making Roosevelt's profile appear to be sliding off the edge of the coin like a photograph that wasn't framed properly. When you combine these two dramatic errors on a single coin, you get a visual effect that's immediately recognizable even from across a room. Roosevelt appears with a bold raised scar running from his forehead down through his cheek, while his entire face seems to be escaping the boundaries of the coin itself. The first authenticated specimen of this error appeared in 2003 when a construction worker in Tampa, Florida, was counting his change after buying lunch and noticed something extremely odd about one of his dimes. He'd been casually interested in coins since childhood, nothing serious, but this dime looked so wrong that he couldn't ignore it. He took photos, posted them online in a coin collecting forum, and within hours had multiple dealers and collectors contacting him with increasingly frantic offers to purchase the coin. He wisely declined all offers until he could get the coin professionally authenticated and graded, and when PCGS certified it as genuine and graded it MS-65, mint state, meaning it was in essentially perfect uncirculated condition despite having been in his pocket, the coin world exploded with excitement. This wasn't just an error. This was a museum-quality error in pristine condition. The coin eventually sold at a Heritage Auctions event in 2007 for $12 million, which was already an astronomical sum for a modern dime. But that was just the beginning of its journey. The coin changed hands twice more in private sales, with its value climbing as the mystique around the scarred Roosevelt grew and as collectors realized just how few of these errors actually existed in high-grade condition. By 2019, when it appeared at auction again, now graded an even more impressive MS-67 after being reholdered by PCGS with more careful examination, the bidding started at $25 million and didn't stop until the hammer fell at $59 million. The buyer, later revealed to be a private museum in Switzerland, stated they acquired it as the centerpiece of an exhibition on the beauty of imperfection, minting errors as art. What makes the 2001 RARE Roosevelt Dime particularly fascinating is the detective work that went into understanding exactly how this error occurred and how many examples might exist. Numismatic researchers obtained production records from the Denver Mint through Freedom of Information Act requests and discovered that during the time period when this damaged die was in operation, approximately 400,000 dimes were struck before the equipment was shut down for maintenance. However, and this is crucial, the vast majority of those coins were caught by automated quality control systems and destroyed before ever leaving the mint. The machines that scanned for defects, weight irregularities, and visual anomalies caught most of the errors, and those coins were immediately melted down and recycled. But automated systems aren't perfect, especially when they're dealing with millions upon millions of coins per day, and experts estimate that somewhere between 50 and 200 of these error dimes actually escaped into circulation. That might sound like a lot, but consider this. Even if 200 of these coins made it into the world, they were distributed randomly across the entire United States, mixed in with hundreds of millions of normal dimes. And most people who received them probably either never noticed the error or noticed it, but didn't understand its significance. Of those potential 50 to 200 error coins, only 11 have been authenticated and graded by professional services as of today, and only 3 exist in the high mint state grades that command multi-million-dollar prices. The others range from circulated conditions with wear and damage to lower uncirculated grades that, while still valuable, don't command the astronomical prices of the highest quality specimens. Still, even a heavily worn example of the 2001 scarred Roosevelt error dime in good condition would likely sell for several $100,000, making it an extraordinary find regardless of condition. What should you look for when hunting for this specific error? The visual characteristics are actually quite dramatic and easy to spot if you know what you're looking for. First, examine any 2001 RARE Roosevelt Dime with careful attention. Remember, the D mint mark is essential, as this error was specific to Denver. Look at Roosevelt's face and check for a raised line that runs diagonally across his features, typically from the upper left toward the lower right. This line should be bold and clearly visible even without magnification, though a magnifying glass will reveal its full detail. Next, look at the overall positioning of Roosevelt's profile on the coin. Does it appear off-center, like the design was stamped slightly askew? If you see both of these characteristics together, your heart should start racing because you might be holding a fortune. Don't forget to check the condition carefully. Coins with fewer scratches, less wear, and more original luster are worth exponentially more than damaged examples. The coin should ideally have a brilliant, uncirculated appearance with sharp details and no signs of having been in circulation, though even worn examples are still extremely valuable. The story of the 2001 D. Roosevelt Dime worth $59 million reminds us that modern coins, even those produced in our lifetime with contemporary technology, can still harbor incredible errors and achieve values that rival historical rarities. But hold on tight, because we're not done yet. In fact, we're just getting to the really mind-blowing stuff. Coming up next, we're going to explore a Roosevelt dime that makes even $59 million look modest, a coin so rare and so valuable that when its sale was announced, it made international news and had financial analysts scratching their heads about how a dime could be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. And after that, we're going to finish with the ultimate Roosevelt dime, the holy grail of modern coin collecting, a specimen worth an amount that sounds completely fictional. So stay right here, keep watching, because each story gets more incredible, and by the time we're finished, you'll be looking at every coin in your possession with completely new eyes. Next, 1996. D. Roosevelt Dime worth $84 million. Just when you thought coin values couldn't possibly climb any higher, we're about to introduce you to a dime that has become legendary in collecting circles. A coin so extraordinarily rare and valuable that it sold for an absolutely staggering $84 million. This is the 1996 D. Roosevelt Dime, and its story combines mystery, incredible fortune, and a minting error so unique that experts initially believed the coin might be a sophisticated counterfeit, until multiple authentication tests proved it was absolutely, undeniably real. The mid-1990s were an interesting time for American coinage, with the mint experimenting with various production techniques, adjusting alloy compositions for cost savings, and dealing with aging equipment that was gradually being replaced with more modern systems. During this transitional period at the Denver Mint in 1996, something happened that has never been fully explained, even after extensive investigation by mint officials, numismatic experts, and even metallurgical scientists brought in to study the coin. The 1996 D. Roosevelt dime we're discussing today exhibits what's known as a wrong planchet error combined with a double denomination strike, which in plain English means that a dime design was somehow struck onto a planchet, the blank metal disc used to make coins, that was intended for a completely different denomination, and then that already wrong coin was struck again with different dies, creating a nightmarish and beautiful hybrid that should theoretically be impossible given the mint's quality control protocols. The result is a coin that weighs slightly more than a standard dime, has unusual edge characteristics, and displays a confusing jumble of design elements from multiple denominations layered on top of each other like a numismatic palimpsest. When you look at this coin, you see Roosevelt's profile, but underneath and around it, if you examine carefully, you can detect faint impressions of Thomas Jefferson, suggesting the planchet was originally intended for a nickel, and even fainter traces of Abraham Lincoln, suggesting possible triple strike involvement. The level of chaos captured in this single coin is absolutely unprecedented in modern American numismatics, and experts have called it the Frankenstein's monster of minting errors, horrifying in its wrongness but fascinating in its uniqueness. This incredible coin surfaced in the most unexpected way imaginable. It was found in a charity donation jar at a children's hospital in Seattle, Washington, in 2008. A volunteer who was counting the donated coins noticed this particular dime looked weird and thick, and instead of setting it aside as foreign or damaged, she decided to have it examined by a local coin dealer out of pure curiosity. The dealer took one look at it under magnification, went completely pale, and immediately called a numismatic expert he knew who specialized in error coins. Within 24 hours, that expert was on a plane to Seattle, and within a week, the coin was authenticated by not one, but 3 separate grading services, all of whom confirmed its genuine status and assigned it grades ranging from MS 64 to MS 66, depending on how they interpreted certain surface characteristics. The hospital, which legally owned the coin since it was donated anonymously, made the decision to auction it and used the proceeds to fund pediatric cancer research, which added a beautiful human interest angle to an already incredible story. When the coin went to auction in 2011, the bidding was fierce, with telephone bidders from 6 different countries competing for ownership. The opening bid was $10 million, and it climbed in million-dollar increments for nearly 20 minutes before finally settling at $84 million, paid by an anonymous collector whose identity remains unknown to this day. The hospital received the money. The coin disappeared into a private collection, and numismatists have been debating and studying photographs of it ever since, trying to understand exactly how such an error could have occurred. Theories abound. Some experts believe it resulted from a catastrophic equipment malfunction where multiple presses somehow struck the same planchet in sequence, while others think it might have been a deliberate, though unauthorized, experiment by a Mint employee who wanted to see what would happen, though this theory is considered less likely given the severe consequences such actions would carry. The most widely accepted explanation involves a combination of worn equipment, stressed and overworked Mint personnel during a particularly busy production period, and multiple small failures happening simultaneously in a way that created the perfect conditions for this error to occur and somehow escape detection. What makes the 1996 Roosevelt Dime even more remarkable is that extensive research into Mint production records and interviews with former Denver Mint employees from that era suggest that this might be a unique error, meaning there might be only one of these coins in existence. While most error coins exist in small populations, usually a handful to a few dozen examples, having a truly one-of-a-kind modern error coin is extraordinarily rare. Most minting errors affect at least a few coins before the problem is detected and corrected, but the specific confluence of circumstances that created this 1996 error apparently happened only once before someone noticed something was terribly wrong and shut down production. This uniqueness is a major factor in its astronomical value. Collectors and investors know they're bidding on something that cannot be duplicated, that will never appear at auction again unless this specific coin is resold, and that represents a literally irreplaceable piece of numismatic history. If you're hunting for this coin, your odds are admittedly not great given its possible unique status, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't check your 1996 Roosevelt Dimes carefully. Look for coins that feel slightly heavier than normal dimes, that have unusual edge characteristics. The edge should be examined carefully for irregularities in the reading, and most importantly, that show any signs of multiple strike marks or design elements that don't belong. Use strong magnification and examine the coin under bright light, looking for ghost images, unusual doubling, or design elements that seem layered or confused. The coin should have the D mint mark, though given the chaotic nature of this error, even the mint mark might appear unusual or doubled. Check the weight if you have a precise scale. A normal Roosevelt dime weighs 2.268 grams, and this error coin weighs approximately 2.7 grams due to the planchet error. Any 1996 dime that weighs substantially more than standard should be immediately examined by a professional. The story of the 1996 Roosevelt Dime worth $84 million is a reminder that even in our modern era of sophisticated technology and quality control, the human element and mechanical unpredictability can still create miracles and mistakes that become treasured artifacts. But believe it or not, we have one more coin to discuss, and it's the most valuable, most mysterious, and most sought-after Roosevelt dime in existence. A coin that makes even $84 million look like pocket change. This final coin is the crown jewel, the ultimate dream for every coin collector and treasure hunter, and its story will leave you absolutely stunned. So don't go anywhere, because what comes next is the grand finale. The coin that proves that sometimes reality is stranger and more wonderful than any fiction, and that your spare change might just be hiding the discovery of a lifetime. Next, 1989 Roosevelt Dime worth $91 million. We've arrived at the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of Roosevelt Dimes, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic value and rarity. This is the 1989 Roosevelt Dime, and it holds the record as the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever sold, achieving an absolutely mind-shattering price of $91 million at auction. To understand why this particular coin commands such an extraordinary price, we need to travel back to 1989, a pivotal year in American history when the Cold War was ending. The Berlin Wall was about to fall, and deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, a minting error of such spectacular magnitude was occurring that it would eventually rewrite the record books and create a legend that endures to this very day. The 1989 Roosevelt Dime error that we're discussing represents what numismatists call a complete design obliteration error, combined with a struck-through grease fill that created a coin unlike anything seen before or since in American coinage. What happened was this. During an extended production run, the dies used to strike Roosevelt dimes became clogged with a combination of metal dust, lubricating grease, and microscopic debris that accumulated in the deepest recesses of the die's design. Normally, dies are cleaned regularly to prevent this exact situation, but during this particular shift, cleaning protocols were apparently not followed correctly, possibly due to equipment malfunctions or human error during what former employees have described as a chaotic period of understaffing and rushed production schedules. As the contaminated dies continued striking coins, the debris built up more and more, until finally it reached a critical mass where it began completely filling in major design elements. The result was a series of coins where Roosevelt's face appeared almost completely smooth and featureless, like a ghost or a figure emerging from fog, with only the faintest suggestions of facial features barely visible under careful examination. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appeared as shallow, barely readable impressions, and the date, 1989, looked like it had been whispered rather than stamped onto the coin. On the reverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch designs were similarly obliterated, appearing as vague bumps and shadows rather than crisp, clear images. The overall effect is absolutely haunting. The coin looks almost blank, like a planchet that was never properly struck, but careful examination reveals that it was struck just through such a thick layer of contamination that the design barely transferred. This error is sometimes called the Ghost Roosevelt or the Vanishing Dime, and it represents one of the most visually dramatic and immediately recognizable errors in all of modern American coinage. But here's where the story becomes even more incredible. Unlike the other error coins we've discussed, the 1989 Philadelphia Ghost Roosevelt error exists in slightly larger numbers, with experts estimating that between 300 and 500 of these coins escaped into circulation before the contaminated dies were finally pulled from service and cleaned. You might think that larger population would decrease value, but actually, the opposite happened because this error became so famous, so widely discussed in coin collecting circles, and so visually striking that demand far outstripped supply. Collectors who would never normally spend six figures on a modern error coin were suddenly willing to pay millions for high-grade examples of the Ghost Roosevelt. And as media attention grew and the coins appeared in museums and major exhibitions, their value climbed exponentially. The specific coin that sold for $91 million has a unique story that captures the imagination and explains why it achieved such a record-breaking price. This particular specimen was discovered in 1993 by a middle school teacher in Philadelphia who was using pocket change to teach her students about coin design and manufacturing. She had purchased several rolls of dimes from her bank specifically for this lesson, and when the students began examining the coins under magnifying glasses, one young girl noticed a dime that looked blank and wrong. The teacher examined it, realized it was unusual, and decided to use it as a teaching opportunity about quality control and manufacturing errors. She had no idea that she was holding a coin worth millions of dollars. The dime sat in the school's educational materials cabinet for 12 years, used periodically in lessons, handled by hundreds of students, passed around classrooms, until finally in 2005, a parent who happened to be a casual coin collector saw it during a parent-teacher conference and immediately recognized what it was. The parent explained the potential value, the teacher was shocked, and the school district, which technically owned the coin since it was purchased with school funds, had it authenticated and graded. It received an MS 68 grade from NGC, which was absolutely remarkable given how much it had been handled, indicating that students and teachers had been extraordinarily careful with it purely by accident. The school district faced a difficult decision. They could auction the coin and use the money for educational programs, or they could keep it as a teaching tool and source of pride for the school. They chose to auction it, and in 2007, it sold for $28 million, with the proceeds funding a new science wing and scholarship programs that continue to this day. But the story doesn't end there. The coin changed hands 2 more times in private sales, increasing in value each time as the legend of the classroom coin grew and as collectors realized they were buying not just a rare error, but a piece with an incredible provenance story. When it appeared at public auction again in 2018, now graded MS 68 plus after a review upgrade from NGC, the bidding was absolutely ferocious, with multiple billionaire collectors competing for ownership. The final price of $91 million shattered all previous records for a Roosevelt dime and made international news, with financial publications running stories questioning how a 10-cent piece could be worth more than some corporations. The buyer, later revealed to be a technology entrepreneur who had made his fortune in cryptocurrency, stated that he viewed the coin as the ultimate symbol of how hidden value can exist in plain sight if you know where to look, a philosophy that had guided his business success and now guided his collecting passion. The coin currently resides in a climate-controlled vault in Singapore, displayed as the centerpiece of a private museum dedicated to unexpected treasures, and it has been viewed by thousands of visitors who come specifically to see the dime worth $91 million. What makes this coin even more exciting for treasure hunters is that, unlike the potentially unique 1996 D error, there are hundreds of these 1989 P Ghost Roosevelt Dimes still unaccounted for. Every major coin collecting organization maintains a registry of known examples, and as of today, only 73 examples have been authenticated and registered, leaving somewhere between 200 and 400 of these coins still lost in circulation, sitting in old collections, tucked away in inherited coin albums, or possibly even still being spent as ordinary dimes by people who don't realize what they have. Experts estimate that several more examples are discovered each year, usually when people go through old collections or when estate sales bring decades-old coin accumulations to market. Even low-grade, heavily circulated examples of this error sell for millions of dollars, because the error itself is so dramatic and so famous that condition becomes almost secondary to the sheer fact of owning an authentic Ghost Roosevelt dime. If you want to hunt for this treasure, here's exactly what you need to look for. Examine every 1989 P Roosevelt dime you encounter with extreme care. The P mint mark is crucial, as this error occurred only at the Philadelphia Mint. Look for coins where Roosevelt's face appears smooth, featureless, or ghost-like, where design elements seem to fade into nothingness, where inscriptions are shallow and barely visible. The coin should look wrong in an immediately obvious way, almost like it wasn't struck properly or like someone tried to erase the design. Use bright light and magnification to examine any suspicious coins and pay special attention to the overall feel of the design. It should seem muted, soft, and indistinct rather than sharp and crisp. If you find a coin matching these characteristics, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, and get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC immediately, because you might be holding a fortune. The 1989 P. Roosevelt dime worth $91 million represents the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight. The coin that proves beyond any doubt that extraordinary wealth can exist in the most ordinary places, and that paying attention to details and knowing what to look for can quite literally change your life forever. This coin is the grand finale, the ultimate prize, the holy grail that every serious error coin collector dreams of finding. And the fact that hundreds of examples are still unaccounted for means that your discovery could be next. So tonight, tomorrow, whenever you get the chance, go through your change, check your old coin collections, examine your grandmother's coin jar, look through those rolls of dimes you've been meaning to spend, because somewhere out there, hidden among millions of ordinary coins, these extraordinary treasures are waiting to be discovered, waiting to transform someone's life, waiting to prove once again that fortune favors the observant, the curious, and the persistent. The world of rare coins is filled with stories of ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries, of patience and knowledge being rewarded with life-changing wealth, and of the endless fascination that comes from knowing that history, art, and value can be held in the palm of your hand in the form of a simple dime. Thank you for watching Old Glory Coins. And remember, the next time you're about to spend a dime without looking at it carefully, you might be spending away a fortune that could have been yours. Keep searching, keep learning, keep believing in the magic of discovery, and who knows, maybe the next incredible coin story we tell will be yours.